Alright, so we've set up a front end on React to accepting data. We've put in some handlings on our register page so that we can give back feedback to the user. And now we kind of want to look at what's happening on the back end when we start hitting these APIs. So we're looking at the login user API and the register user API. So if we look into our server.js, there's a few things going on. We'll scroll down to our APIs. Register user. So in our register user one, we're using user.register new user. So that is calling on our MongoDB schema, and we're passing through the data and the password. So .register is actually passport local strategy method, which we'll go into. And then basically, once it goes and does its thing, it's going to either return a false or a true. The false or the error is essentially it saying, hey, that username already exists. So we're going to say back it's false. And then on the client side, that's where we're getting the username already exists. And then if it's true, then that's how we're getting successfully created on the client side. So what's going on here? There's a lot going on here. So let's have a look. We've got new user. So where's that coming from? We've got user, which is coming from user.js. So in our user.js, we have our mongoose schema, and we're using passport local mongoose. Basically, we have a simple setup here of username, password, display name. For passport local, you need to have username and password as lowercase in this format. It is case sensitive. And then we're also using the plugin for passport local mongoose. Now that is automatically encrypting or hashing our passwords, and it uses bcrypt, so it's extremely safe. And then we're just exporting this, right? So back in our server.js, so we're using user, and then we're also using the mongo.connect. So when you've set up your Mongo account, go grab your URI. Please don't use my URI and start putting stuff into my database. This is purely for fun and educational purposes. And then we have our URI getting set into our mongoose.connect, and we're just getting a simple connected, or if there was an error. Now we're using oops, looks like we never call this. I must have accidentally put that in there. We're using Mongo store session in Mongo store. We're slapping that URI again in there, and then we're giving it a different collection name. So we don't want our sessions to be dumped in with all of our user data. So we're just saying, hey, going to the same database, but call it sessions instead of users. And then when we set up our sessions, we're saying, hey, store it in our Mongo store session, which is what we just set up here. And then we're also saying, hey, we're going to store it for this long. So we have the sessions now getting stored and created, and we also have the passport getting created in the same time. So what does that look like? If I open up MongoDB Atlas, let's sign in. Goodness gracious. I should have had this already opened. How bad is this? Right. So if we go to collections, we can see we have sessions. Oh, and I've been naughty and just called it test. Probably shouldn't do that. And we also have our users here as well. So we have our salt and then our hash. So we're having our users' passwords put in through the salt, which is that passport. So we don't need to worry about handling passwords because Mongo Passport already does that for us. So this is a great way to quickly create a safe user account management system. Very simple. As you can see, it all ties in nicely. And then we're using login user, which was that second API we're calling. So now we're calling passport.authenticate local, which is the local strategy, and then we're doing redirects. So it either wants to push us to login failure or login success. Now we needed to create middleware for this because we don't want to handle redirects from server side. We want to do that from client side. So our redirects are simply this. We're saying login failure, tell it's a false, login success, tell it's a true, and then from the client side we'll say, hey, if it's true, go to the next thing. If it's false, don't do anything. Or send back username or password is incorrect. So that's how we're getting that flag there. Something I did kind of breeze over that I probably should have mentioned is the serialization. So we're using the strategy. We're saying passport local user.authenticate. So again, that's our mongoose schema. So it knows to use the schema as the strategy that we're doing. We're then passing that through to our passport. We're then serializing it on the user schema, and also deserializing on the user schema. And then we initialize the passport and the session. So that way the passport strategy knows, hey, we're expecting a username and a password, so that when we register it, here's our username, and then the password is what gets passed through to be hashed. Alright, so now we can kind of see what's on the back end with passport.authenticate, and we can see how we can redirect with middleware back to React. And now we can jump into more of the React and go into the Canvas page.